he's self-involved. He's not thinking about his team. See, Kyrie, I could do that, and others can, whether they're good, well-intentioned or not. It could be an honest mistake or it could be malicious. If you think the media is malicious or members of them have something out, against you or something like that, they can still do that. That doesn't make any sense. Or is the point that here's my statement? No, the point of media accessibility is to ask you questions. I know you'd like to talk about what you'd like to talk about, but the reason everyone's making a living doing this, including you, is because the media covers it and delivers it to the fans, the paying customer, right? And they have questions. And by extension, the media, in a sense, is an extension of them. Here are the things we believe, at least, the people who would like to hear about. Now, if you think they'd like to hear about other things, too, go ahead, mention other things. But just to release a statement is like a scared way to behave. Do you feel that you can't articulate your point well enough, just if extemporaneously, that you need time to prepare a statement to try to make it ironclad? I mean, what's the point here? And to think that you're doing this now, where your star teammate, the best player on the team, is coming back from catastrophic injury. The media is going to have a lot of questions about the Brooklyn Nets playing in the biggest media market on planet Earth for a basketball-starved fan base. And you're absolving yourself of the responsibility of answering questions. So what, that all goes to KD now? You have to ask yourself, Kyrie, you might be the most skillful player who ever lived, especially given how high your talent is pitched. Whoever had handles like you who could also finish in the paint, at least under the rim, who could also pass the ball, who could also shoot the ball, like Kyrie Irving. Why is it that every team you've been on, except for the one with LeBron James, has gotten worse with you on the court? That shouldn't be possible. Seems to me you're thinking a lot about yourself, and this statement reflects that. Stephen A., when I read it, I thought, typical Kyrie. He thinks he's being profound or deep or controlling the narrative or whatever he thinks he's doing, but it seemed to me to be inarticulate rambling and nonsense, self-involved nonsense.
I appreciate all of those sentiments, Max Kellerman. So let me get right to it and just answer the question. And I'm going to try to be diplomatic, but I'm not going to hold back. To answer the question directly, Molly and Max, Kyrie Irving should not be forced to engage with the media. He doesn't want to talk to the media, fine. We won't miss him. But here's the reality. He should be fined every damn day he doesn't talk, because you signed a contractual agreement. It comes along with your contract as an NBA player. This notion that you just get to go out on the basketball court and play, but you don't answer questions, you don't talk to the media, whatever. Understand what the media is. The media is a conduit to assist the NBA and its players in promoting its brand. That way it facilitates you generating more revenue so guys like Kyrie can get paid $33.4 million this year, $35 million next season, and then a player option to pay him $36.6 million in 22-23, even though you fresh over playing 20 games last season. Okay, that's the situation with Kyrie Irving that everybody needs to address. The bottom line is this: Kyrie Irving, as you said, Max, comes across looking. I'm not going to talk about what he is, because I actually think he's a good guy. I actually think his heart is in the right place. But I think he's immature. I think that he's occasionally selfish. And I think at this particular moment in time, he comes off as a damn snob. He thinks people are beneath him and he's above it. He looks at the media as being inauthentic. That's what he thinks about the media. You know, everything that has happened to Kyrie Irving, that Kyrie Irving has self-inflicted, go back and look at the tapes. Quote him. It's always the media. Always. You got something to say about LeBron? It's the media. You got something to say about your time in Boston? It's the media. You got something to say about wanting to move on? It's the media. You're in Brooklyn. Nobody has thought about you since the spring. You haven't played. The season was halted. You wasn't playing before then. You had shoulder surgery. You come in and then you're not even participating in the bubble because you're recuperating from your right shoulder. And still, you wanted to sit up there and implement yourself in the proceedings by talking about how the game should not be played. You weren't playing anyway while collecting $33 million. But you had something to say. And then when people responded, it's the media. You go on Kevin Durant's podcast and literally state, which we'll get into later, but literally state that, you know what? I mean, you're the first guy that I looked at and I said, hey, I trust you to make the last shot. And the media made up that LeBron might have a problem with that. Damn, you was taking a shot at LeBron. And you go on social media and literally state, hey, well, you know what? If I had something to say about him, I would say their name. Like, how dare us connect the dots and say 1 + 1 = 2? You won a championship with a brother in 2016. Far be it for us to come to the conclusion that, oh, my God, you might have been talking about LeBron. Who else did you play with? Jason Tatum? Jaylen Brown? That's who you were talking about? Not LeBron, who you won a chip with? Who happens to be the greatest player in the world for the past decade? In Kyrie's world, it's always us. It's never him. No matter what he says, no matter who he says it to, no matter what. Hey, Max, you brought up, I tried to stop you from condemning him for talking about how the world was flat. The earth was flat. Okay? Guess what? That was you, Max. That wasn't him, Max. That was you. That was you, Max. It was your fault. It was your fault that Kyrie said that, Max. You put those words into his mouth. You forced him to articulate and disseminate that message to the world. You did that, Max. It's never Kyrie until he sits back, takes a deep breath, pauses, and says, hey, you know what? As I reflect upon these things, I may have made a mistake here or there. You know, I got to be better than that. There's young kids watching as you reflect. But in the moment, one moment, after another moment, after another moment, after another moment, it's always somebody else. So my response in closing is this. Yeah. If he doesn't speak, fine. We won't miss him. Show up on the court at the Barclays Center.
Devil's advocate.
Put on the show. Put on the show that you can put on because he is a sensational showstopper player. But if he doesn't want to talk, fine.
Yeah,
just remind him, if you're the NBA, of his contractual obligation and find his ass every day he doesn't talk because that comes along with your contract. Other than that, it's none of our business.
Here's what.
Guys, can I play devil's advocate here really quickly since it seems you agree? Yeah, I just want to go. No, Max seems like he wants to say something. Go ahead, Max.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
All right. So basically, I was going to say this. You guys both have powerful voices in the media. Stephen A., sports media, probably more prominent than anyone's. And you've had things misconstrued before, right? You've had things taken out of context. People take clips, they grab them, etc. It's frustrating, sometimes infuriating. You want to go and defend yourself, or I don't know if you choose to just let it go. But I mean, there has to be some merit in what he's saying here. Could this actually, you know, we know his mentor was Kobe Bryant, right? Didn't he learn a lot from Kobe in terms of how to handle these things? Maybe he feels like this is the better protocol, the better way.
Kobe never released statements like this to my knowledge. Kobe always answered questions. I was there in L.A. for 5 years. Kobe was present to answer your questions and face the media. He wasn't going to push that off on a teammate. If he ever did, it's not to my recollection. And I addressed your point off the top, Molly, in the sense that if Kyrie's point is that it'll be taken out of context, he can be taken out of context with this quote as well. Here's the real issue with Kyrie. All of his public pronouncements, or many of them to me, seem to be about ego protection. Stephen A., it's like it's said, it's never his fault. It's always someone else's fault, right? When you release a statement, you control the narrative, right? I think he's justifying it. He's going to control the narrative. See this? It's player empowerment or something. But let me tell you how it actually reads to most folks. You're scared to answer questions because you can't articulate your point well enough, right? It's not just the media is going to twist it around. It's that you put your foot in your mouth. And this way, that's how it comes across. I'm afraid to answer questions because I don't do it well. So here's my statement. By the way, you don't do that well either, Kyrie. Your statements are not very clear. They're ambiguous.
I don't know if that's fair to him. Go ahead, Stephen A. Yeah.
Molly, to get to your point, that's Max's interpretation, and I get where Max is coming from. I'm coming from a different place. I spoke to Kyrie personally, directly. I will not repeat what our conversation entailed. That's between he and I. but I spoke to him
Yep.
before I took this position. So I'm coming from an informed position on that regard. And I am telling you that I believe I walked away with the notion that it's always somebody else's fault. Kyrie Irving, to me, is a very articulate and intelligent dude, regardless of the mistakes that he has made. And he is a very good guy in terms of his heart and soul being in the right place. Where I bring up words like immature and other things is the fact that he's so interested in pointing the finger of blame. And what he is making a mistake of that Kobe Bryant never makes, that the Chris Pauls of the world don't make, that the Dwayne Wades didn't make, that LeBron James and others rarely, if ever, make, is that when you are an articulate young brother capable of expressing yourself, you do yourself more harm than good by electing not to speak, because you've given folks the license to interpret for themselves instead of you being direct and clear with what message you want to send. And he comes across as if he believes he's doing folks favors by speaking to them. Well, go ahead and do that, because guess what? He's going to find out what everybody